guys live from coast to coast. Welcome to another live stream of Just My Opinion podcast. As always, rate, comment, subscribe, share it with your friends, family, as well as your followers. Let's get this channel lit in the YouTube algorithm. Okay, we got all that stuff out of the way. We're going to be talking about this Jimmy Kimmel thing. Now, Jimmy Kimmel has been suspended by ABC. Uh, and sources say, and there's a whole bunch of people believe it's this, people believe it's that, and this that, but nothing has been confirmed. Nothing has been denied, but nothing has really been confirmed on this mystery suspension surrounding Jimmy Kimmel. But before I get into it, I first like to say this. I should have said this in the beginning of my intro. The two things I really don't talk about are politics and religion, because politics and religion brings out the worst of everyone, because everyone believes that their argument really matters. Everyone believes that their opinion really matters. There are so many groups heavily depended on someone's opinion to reap the benefits from it when you talk about promoting that particular party. So it's a mob type, gang type reality when you're dealing with religion and politics. I don't want to go further into that, why I believe that. I'm just saying you have to really walk on eggshells when you're discussing anything that has to do with religion or politics. But with that being said, let's get into it. Okay. So and you also have to tread very wisely, particularly on social media. There's a lot of social media apps such as Facebook, YouTube, that are really one-sided to one particular party. Now, I'm not going to tell you what party it is. You have Google. Just Google it for yourself. The people that run these social media apps, they vote too, and the majority of them vote for one particular party. You just need to just Google is your friend. All right, so let's get into it. So I believe this has been going on for like 2 days now. uh uh Jimmy Kimmel. Now, initially, Jimmy Kimmel, every night he starts off with some zingers, some jokes and things of that nature. And he's been very, very critical of Donald Trump. Donald Trump is our commander in chief. He's our president, and he's been saying a lot of things aimed towards Donald Trump. And with this recent, uh, I think, I had his name in my head, but I don't forgot it. Um, this recent assassination with this political figure, Charlie, I believe I think his first name is Charlie. It has grown national attention, and people believe that this is a sign for the worst to come. And Jimmy Kimmel has been, like I said, very critical of Donald J. Trump. So ABC, which, by the way, ABC is owned by Disney. ABC pretty much have told Jimmy, we're not going to censor you, on your monologues. You can speak freely. And that has been going on for a while. But with this case, they feel like the FCC was going to start fining uh, the Jimmy Kimmel show. And since Donald Trump is our commander in chief, he's the president of the United States, he has the resources, the connections, and the pull to make life very unpleasant for ABC if they were to continue this path of allowing Jimmy Kimmel to just say whatever he wants to say. Which, by the way, there is a such thing as freedom of speech. But what people don't realize, and I think Jimmy Kimmel, hey, how you doing? How you doing, sir? How you doing down there? You doing good? Doing wonderful this morning? So finally got to get to read, get to see you guys' messages. But the only problem I have putting it in this setting is so small on this phone. So I'm gonna start doing my tablet. I'm gonna start live streaming on my tablet. I can see it better. But the problem with my tablet is it don't really show the message until later on. I don't know what's going on with that. Anyway, so back to what I'm saying. uh, so Donald Trump has a lot of resources. He's got a lot of connections, like I said, to make life unpleasant for ABC. And we're all well aware of Disney owns ABC. And Disney sort of likes to, have their programming on the same wavelength, family friendly. They don't want to ruffle anybody's feathers, particularly in politics or religion. They really, steer free from that. If you don't believe me, just Google ESPN and the amount of sports personalities that are no longer working there because of what they say on social media. And like I say, people always say, well, we have the right. It's freedom of speech. We have the right. You absolutely have that right. But there are consequences to whatever you say and whatever you do. No matter if you're saying everything correct, there are consequences for that. If you say everything wrong and it's negative and there's no facts in what you're saying, there's consequences in that as well. And there's legal consequences, there's economic consequences, and there's social consequences. So you have to be careful on what you say or who you saying it to, because everybody's sensitive. Okay. So yeah, that's what's going on with Jimmy Kimmel. And for a moment, ABC allowed him the room to say whatever he wants to say. And Disney kind of, stays in the background with the Jimmy Kimmel show because, they know how Jimmy Kimmel operates. But um I think the pressure is mounting on Jimmy Kimmel to scale it back some. Now, there are reports, and I read the articles. You can go check them out for yourself. NBC has an article. They have done a video discussing this. CNN I think they got an 8-minute video. Plus, they have an article. Basically, both of these sources are saying that have been multiple sources that have been talking to Jimmy Kimmel to tone it down a little bit with his monologue. Basically, just lay off of Donald Trump. Just lay off of him. You can read between the lines, but that's pretty much what they probably were saying behind closed doors. We like, your monologues are okay, but hey, when you're joking about Trump or talking about Trump, just tone it down a little bit, okay? And Jimmy Kimmel comes off as a lot of these people like Jamel Hill. Um, there's another girl. I mean, there's another lady. Excuse me. They used to work at ESPN. I can't. Sage Steele and Jimmy Kimmel. They come off as individuals that no matter how much information they get, no matter how many people tell them to tone it down, scale it back, they refuse to do that. These individuals go against the grain and they act like they don't have nothing to lose. And Jamel Hill at one time was the top female journalist in the sports industry. And, look at Jamel Hill now. She's bouncing from company to company. It's not because of her, these companies are, struggling. She's no longer on ESPN. She does content creating on YouTube. And there's nothing wrong with content creating on YouTube, but a person that's highly decorated as Jamel Hill is a content creator on YouTube. It's like you're hustling backwards. And I'm not sitting up here to say you can't make a lot of money on YouTube. You cannot be famous just on YouTube. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is at one point she was at the apex, the top of the highest mountain you can get to. And now she's, among us, okay? You look at Sage Steele, another personality. highly decorated. Sage Steele was featured everywhere on ESPN. There was a point of time where they were going to allow Sage Steele to do the afternoon sports center. I mean, Sage Steele was Malika Andrews before Malika Andrews. And like once again, Sage Steele just got into her own way, and now she's no longer on ESPN. And her fall is worse than Jamel Hill. She went straight to content creating on YouTube. Again, I have no issues with YouTube. I'm on YouTube. But someone highly decorated and award winning as these two females, for them to be on YouTube speaks in volume about them and how radioactive they are. Because you would think, well, CBS wouldn't mind having either of these two candidates. CNN, well, CNN did have Jamel Hill. They was going to launch the CNN app, and that failed on arrival. So her show failed on arrival before they could even air one episode. But that's neither here nor there. But you look at these two, and look where they are now. And now when you look at Jimmy Kimmel, highly decorated, had the most popular show on late night television. And by the way, late night television isn't as successful as it once was 20 and 30 years ago, okay? With the Johnny Carson show, the Jay Leno show. I forgot the other guy's name. He was on NBC, then he moved to CBS. Dave, I forgot his last name. Dave Letterman. All these late night shows. Arsenio Hall had a very popular show on late night. Okay, but late night TV today isn't the same as it was 20, 30, or 40 years ago. Times have changed. People are moving away from traditional television, and they're just surfing on the internet. They're going on social media. Social media has so much demand, so much attention. A lot of people are going there and also going to streaming. And that's, cutting a lot of the viewership on late night television, because the time, Jimmy Kimmel comes on, all of these topics are passovers. Your favorite personality throughout the day has done already talked about it, discussed it. I mean, a lot of these, things are worn out. So when Jimmy Kimmel comes on, and I'm pretty sure he has a ravaged fan base that will say, I'm just going to wait and see what Jimmy Kimmel has to say about what Donald Trump says. Okay. But, you're also going to need attention and eyeballs from other sources of the audience other than your own audience. Okay. It's just not enough. And, they recently, closed a lot of shows for late night television. So that just indicates to you late night television isn't the same anymore. Just television in general isn't the same anymore. And if you're still on television and you're still getting a check, you got to do your best due diligence to keep your show running. And Jimmy Kimmel, he comes off as one of these guys that I'm untouchable. I can say what I want. I could do what I want. ABC is not going to fire me. Okay. I have an audience. We're killing. We may not be burning up the ratings, but we're still doing good on the ratings. Life is good. What could they do to me? They need me more than I need them. That, I guarantee you, that's how he's thinking. And sometimes the person that it affects the most is the last one in the room that just don't get it. And Jimmy Kimmel just don't get it. So now they're trying to figure out a way how to proceed further. Because now this is a business move. This is all about business. It's not about what Jimmy Kimmel can do for ABC. All right? This is business. And ABC is thinking, okay, if we're getting this much noise with Jimmy Kimmel with one show, imagine about our other shows. We got to think about our bottom line. And that's what ABC is thinking about. Their bottom line. Okay? Now, I do believe Jimmy Kimmel's coming back. I do believe that Jimmy Kimmel and ABC are going to be in the conference room, and they're going to be talking. And ABC is going to tell Jimmy Kimmel, "Hey, look, this is what we're dealing with. With what you're saying on a lot of your shows. This is what we think our exit strategy should be moving forward. If you want to continue to have your show, and it's going to be really up to Jimmy Kimmel if he's going to accept it and swallow it. Jimmy Kimmel is no different than the rest of us. A lot of us have to deal with things that it is what it is. You're not that big or important to just say, I don't want to do that. Now, yeah, he could literally say he don't want to do that and just quit or retire. You know, he made tons of money. He's ultra famous. He really doesn't need ABC to continue the Jimmy Kimmel show. It can run. The Jimmy Kimmel show can go on like a concert or something like that. Do live shows that way. He can also ink a deal with another like DraftKings or whatever and do YouTube shows and make tons of money that way. Okay, even though I just dissed those other two about you, it's just it with YouTube it hits a little different when you're that big. When you're that big and you say, you know what, I'm just gonna go exclusively on YouTube, you know, then you can get your own sponsors, you know, you can make your money so many different ways. But yeah, he can do that. You know, or just do his own website, or do his own networks in some form of fashion. Okay, so yeah, that's what's going on with Jimmy Kimmel. I wanted to talk briefly about it because it's one of those type of things that you have to tread very carefully when you're talking about topics like this because like I said earlier, the two things I really don't get into, and a lot of people are smartening up and they're not getting into it, is religion and politics. This is all politic driven. If you don't know, now you know. This is all politic driven, and all you have to do is just Google Jimmy Kimmel and Donald Trump. If you just put those two names in, you're going to get why why I know, not believe, I know that this is politic driven. Okay, so yeah, and to be perfectly honest with you, I want to do a side note on this. Low key, a lot of these networks like ABC, CBS, and NBC, they're trimming the fat on a lot of their shows. A lot of their shows are not as big as once they once was. So, you know, a show that was super popular 10 years ago or 20 years ago, and it's just an average show now, a lot of these networks are looking at these shows like business. Like, okay, yeah, it's got the ratings, but if you look at the ratings have been, you know, the ratings are not the same to indicate if you have a popular show no more. Plus, people are walking away from television. They're not even doing satellite. They're not no more satellite, no more cable in a lot of households. It's more internet driven. So they're looking at that as well. So they're counting all they're counting all this data and they're going like, wait a minute, we're losing more money than we're actually making with this show, even though this show is believed to be popular. Okay, so a lot of these networks are looking at outs to just get rid of the show or cancel the show. And I feel like ABC is saying to themselves, you know what? We love Jimmy Kimmel. He did a lot for us, but we paid him. But you know what? To be perfectly honest with you, we could put something else in that time slot. It probably does half the ratings than what Jimmy Kimmel's show does, but we save a lot of money. And that's the bottom line to anything. How much money are you saving if you replace it with something else? And I believe late night television is a dying breed. You know, let's just be perfectly honest. Late night television is a dying breed. The young demographic is not even watching late night television. They're not even watching television. They're on their phones. Okay, so that's one community that you have to exclude. You know, young adults and like from 20 to 40, maybe 50. You don't got a high percentage of those individuals watching late night television anyway. And when you look at the senior citizens, I don't think there's enough senior citizens that stay up that late to watch Jimmy Kimmel. Okay, let's just be perfectly real about that. So yeah, that's all I wanted to talk about. Guys, tell me what you think. Rate, comment, subscribe. I hope everyone have a top of the day morning for them. It's your boy. I'm up out here. Feel free to subscribe. Make sure you like this content. Share it with your friends, family, as well as your followers. On that note, I'm gone. I'll talk to you guys later. Maybe next week we can get some more clarity with Molly. Molly left ESPN, and everyone's just speculating on why she left ESPN. I've been collecting up some reading articles and things of that nature. And matter of fact, I want to talk about that maybe sometime next week. I'm up out of here. Deuces, guys. Deuces. What the?